We didn't expect this.
So Ulduar's already been out for a week. Most guilds have absolutely smashed it and are getting ready to quit the game again.
Most guilds.
And today, we're going to be reviewing the raid progress so far. So was the raid overhyped? Was I right in saying that it's probably going to be easier than most people think? Or am I going to look like an absolute tit? Well, we'll soon.
I think that obviously people are going to clear the raid, like really good guilds that practiced on private servers are going to clear the raid really fast. But for average guilds, Ulduar is going to be the biggest challenge they've faced so far.
Find out. And we're also going to be looking at some interesting details from the world first race.
Okay. Let's see it.
So let's take a little look at the Warcraft log progression distribution chart. Now, don't feel stupid for not understanding what on earth we're looking at here, because neither did I when I first looked at it, to be honest. The fellas over at Warcraft logs probably had a few cans of special brew before they made this thing.
Right.
But basically, hard mode bosses award 5 points on this chart, so that's why it's very scattered. Because many different guilds have defeated a different amount of hard modes within the raid. And that's also why it's very weirdly out of 54. So if we look at the results, 53% of the guilds have cleared every single boss.
Oh, I understand now. Okay, so what this is, let me show you guys. I'll move it down so you can see it. So this is showing, like, there's like a point value system of how many guilds have completed how many challenges inside of Ulduar. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? Like, each of these numbers is a point value success metric.
Including Yogg-Saron, but interestingly, only 0.5% guilds have done every single hard mode.
Yeah,
in fact,
obviously.
most guilds haven't even done that many hard modes yet. So it looks like the raid, minus the hard modes, obviously is not guild breaking. It won't be long before that 53% turns into a 90%. But these hard modes are definitely giving many guilds some grief.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
if so many people have actually taken on one of the hardest bosses in the game, that's telling me that many hard modes just haven't been done yet, probably mainly to time limits that a guild has to deal with. And obviously gear. Most guilds raid a couple of nights a week, and when there's a new raid out, it's probably going to take 2 raid nights, maybe 3, to get every boss down, especially if you're progressing with people who are totally new to the raid.
Yeah, sure.
And I think a lot of guilds just aren't bothering with hard modes yet because they want to gear up their raid before they attempt them to make them smoother.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's why I was thinking about holding off and not doing a number of raids for like maybe a week or two, because so many people just don't even understand the way the fights work. And it's really frustrating for me. Like, I mauled so hard.
So far, guys, please
People
do
do
like
Yogg-Zero?
and subscribe
Yeah,
to the
people
video.
already did
You may
Yogg-Zero.
also want to check out my second
That's
channel
no
very
big deal.
soon. On there, I'm going to have a video about the new
It's a smart way,
Hogwarts Legacy game, which is essentially the new Harry Potter RPG. My second channel is called Night Goblin, and you will always find it in the description of all my videos. You also have to bear in mind that a big part of a classic community are actually casual players,
Yeah,
whereas
they are.
retail has much more of a bigger, hardcore competitive scene. So progression charts like this are always going to make the raid look harder than it really is. I mean, because
I think that's definitely true. Like, classic players are in general more casual. Like, just in terms of, like, for example, if you were raiding in classic WoW or BC, you probably raid 1 day a week. Most classic guilds probably do 1 day a week because that's all it takes. But in like retail WoW, you're usually raiding 2 to 4 days a week.
Classic players even struggle to turn their camera around fast enough for the lunatic gaze mechanic on Yogg-Saron.
Stop,
But I
don't
definitely
wanna
think
be
that the
reminded.
difficulty in Ulduar is not exceptionally difficult. It's just more on
No, it's
par
not.
with retail difficulty. And it's no longer a snooze fest like most previous raids in our classic World of Warcraft journey. This is especially the case for Yogg-Saron hard mode. I mean, that is practically a mythic raid fight due to all the tuning changes.
That shit is a joke. What do you mean? That's like the easiest one. Yeah, I feel like, okay, so the hardest raids in my opinion, the hardest bosses in my opinion are like, I think Algalon is really hard, XT Deconstructor is really hard for numbers, Like I think firefighter is pretty hard. I would say like Yogg 0 is like it's definitely easier than XT. 25 man hard mode. I would say it's probably on the same level as Algalon. Maybe a little bit easier.
Making Ulduar a very difficult raid that many classic WoW players won't be able to complete this phase
No, they can't.
is definitely a good thing for the game, because it means that Ulduar will stay relevant this phase.
This is the kind of shit I'm talking about with classic
Making
WoW
Ulduar
players,
a very
right?
difficult raid that many classic WoW players won't be able to complete.
Look at this. So this dude literally pulled the boss with shield wall.
This phase
Look at
is
that.
definitely a good thing for the game, because it means that Ulduar will stay relevant in the next Trial of the Grand Crusader
What
and
the
Onyxia phase. Ulduar is going to be a raid.
Oh my god. Holy shit, I forgot all about this. That's me. Look who it is. It's your boy. And that's Reg in the group. Oh my god. You know, I recruited Reg from Thrall. I brought him over into my guild. He got Shadowmoor and I didn't get it. He and I, we raided together for 10 years, man. 10 fucking years. Yeah, we killed every single fucking raid tier. We got cutting edge together. Oh my god. Those were the good days, man. What room is that? It's the same room behind me. This is the same fucking TV. Yeah, what do you expect? You think I have another room?
Of a lot of longevity and relevance in the classic WoW raiding scene. We're going to be raiding this for a good 8 months, most likely. But I still don't think Ulduar is insanely difficult. You just need good gear and patience in order to finally get these hard modes defeated.
If you are having trouble with Ulduar hard modes, you suck. That's it. You suck at the game. And it's that simple. Obviously, mistakes happen. But if this is something that is a challenge for you and you're not able to figure it out, then I don't know what to say.
You're in a Giga Chad guild. Blizzard have designed the raid in a way to make the content last longer. Mechanically, most
What the fuck is this shit?
of the hard
What, are they
modes,
hiding behind the wall?
they are fairly simple, apart from the last boss. The thing that gets in the way of progression is mostly player power. Classic players will need more gear to progress because, on average, they are less skilled than retail players.
True.
But by the way, don't misinterpret this as me hating on Classic players. Classic is just more of a casual game. And
they just have smaller brains. Like, it's not even their fault. I mean, they were born that way. Shaman died on pull. What the shaman did is the shaman pulled aggro on these two ads, and that's why he got killed. That's like, it's like both him and the tank. It's like both their fault.
Fine. At the end of the day, I couldn't care less how good you are at a video game. Yogg Saron is very simply the exception to this, because it is mechanically a very difficult fight, and possibly...
What is the hard part about Yogg? Like, in Phase 1, you don't hit the clouds, and you have to interrupt Dark Volley. You can move out if you're melee. Phase 2, you have to interrupt the medium-sized ones and then kill the small ones. Group up for the connector thing, brain link, and then move away from the person with malady of the mind. Like, what is the... Well, I don't understand. The other 20... I don't get it. What's the hard part about the raid? Like, what if you're new? Maybe if you're new, it will be harder.
Also, Mimiron. You know, they're like fairly similar to the difficulty of Mythic mode on retail. But
I will say, as somebody who's done Mythic on retail, Yogg Saron is a joke. The first boss on Mythic in any tier is infinitely harder than Yogg Saron 0 Light in 25 man. It's not even close.
Still, It's definitely no Kil'jaeden mythic.
No, it's
Barely
not.
any guilds actually managed
That
to
was
get
ridiculous.
Kil'jaeden down back in the day when Legion was out because it was mechanically difficult. In fact, they had to nerf it several times in order to actually make it accessible for most guilds. You see, that's what I would consider a difficult raid. A raid that actually...
No, Kil'jaeden was badly designed. On Mythic, I think it was just straight up badly designed. It had too many failure points. The beginning of the fight was bugged out, so I think it was like Method or Limit, I forgot which one, that like progged on it early on. Didn't have any... they couldn't actually make important progress. The fight sucked.
Prevents progress because it is that mechanically challenging for most players.
It was ridiculously mechanically
Not
challenging.
a scenario where you just have to wait a little bit longer to get better gear and then you're going to smash all the bosses.
Yeah.
I don't think Ulduar is going to receive any nerf to raid boss mechanics. If you want to see some actual challenging raid boss fights, like bosses that took world first guilds several months to finally complete, you definitely want to check out my most recent video of the top 10 hardest MMO raid bosses of all time. Now, I'll leave that linked in the description. Trust me, it's going to blow your mind. It will make Ulduar look like Animal Crossing. There's also actually a world boss on that list that required over 800 people to actually down it.
I wouldn't really say that's difficulty. You know, like if you make it to where you need a bunch of people to kill it, that doesn't really make it hard. It just makes it annoying.
This race was also a very exciting and surprising watch because it's probably the first time we've actually seen the top guilds actually wipe. We streamed it over here on YouTube and the whole raid was cleared in just over an hour by Beefbar. In fact, I think it was 1 hour and 20 minutes. What's interesting about these world first races now is there's some actual guild competition rather than just watching the same guild absolute decimate the field. So compare this world first race done and dusted in 1 hour 20 minutes, all hard modes completed, and then compare that to a retail world first race that normally takes several weeks before the last boss goes down. And I think that just speaks volumes about the difficulty of classic WoW compared to retail World of Warcraft.
I think that's one of the reasons why it's so successful. I will even go as far to say that I think that one of the reasons why Sekiro didn't pop off like Elden Ring did is because it was too fucking hard. Like in all the other Souls games, you can just overgear them and out-level the boss, use some bullshit item, and like, yeah, you've got a little bit of that in Sekiro, but not really. That's why a lot of people didn't play it. If they did, they didn't beat it.
Let's imagine a magical scenario where instead of classic WoW players progressing on Ulduar, let's take all the retail players as they are now and make them take on Ulduar. Retail players would absolutely decimate Ulduar as it is now, and that progression chat we looked at previously would be a very different story.
Yeah, of course.
Another thing I found weird about the world first fight is you only had to do all of the hard modes and Algalon to achieve world first. So you could actually skip Ignis and Razor Scale to get world first. And, you know, world second, etc.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like a bit naff. I mean, bro, you've not even finished the raid, but whatever, I do not make.
I feel like if you're clearing Algalon, I will assume that you can handle Razor Scale. I think that, like, at least probably, at least half of the guilds that kill Algalon, they can probably handle Razor Scale. I think that's just what's going to happen because, like, people are going to go and speedrun for the important hard modes and the Algalon and Yogg 0 kill. Whether you think this is what they should do or not, this is what they're going to do. So it kind of makes sense that it was designed this way.
The rules. The top guilds used multiple warlocks, sometimes 7 warlocks, and it makes a lot of sense because their sustained damage once in full phase 1 base gear,
they do a lot of damage.
Is the absolute bee's knees, especially for those longer fights in Ulduar, not to mention their execute phase and insane AoE.
This is how you know warlocks do crazy damage. Is on some of the fights, Gus was on the meter. Like, I think 3 of them, Gus was actually on the meter, and one of them, I think he might have done more damage than McConnell.
Clear trash.
Warlocks
Compare
are
a
fucking
Warlock
broken.
to a Fire Mage, for instance. They still both do fairly decent AoE DPS, but a Warlock just has a life tap and can carry on running, whereas a Mage has to stop and drink.
Life tap is
Death
a buff.
Knights are also
next to
very
it.
well
Or
represented,
ICC,
most
yeah.
skills taken at least 3. Despite the nerfs to their Gargoyle Snapshot, their damage is good, even on those longer fights, because again, the same reason a Warlock's good, they have great sustained...
Well, also, DKs have insanely fucking good survivability. You have AMS, you have Icebound Fortitude, you have Death Strike. I don't know if you can sack your pet for health in Wrath, I don't remember. But, like, you have crazy fucking survivability.
DPS. It's just unstoppable.
You can't,
We'll be making a
nuts.
longer video focused on class DPS straight after this video actually, which is very likely, if I stay on schedule, to upload on Saturday evening, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, until my next video, ciao.
I've had fun doing Ulduar whenever we kill the bosses. I haven't had fun doing Ulduar when we don't kill the bosses. That's probably the best way for me to describe it. This is a Meta Goblin video. I like this one. This is good. And I'll link it for you guys. Y'all can see it. You can't... Yeah. I mean, I do enjoy it. It's fun. I just wish that people would just pay attention. That's all. Having a great time in Ulduar. I'm working on more alts just to spend more time in there. Fuck that. For me, first time in Ulduar made me think of retail, not because of the tactics, it's the players. I was just, okay, alright, here we go. Let's go ahead and let's read this. I was just talking to someone about this, that the players are different. Everybody wants a summon. Nobody wants to stick around after raid. Like, bruh, you show up, raid log, and quit. Stop gearing those people. They are bad for the game. I recently went back to the new classic era, and boy is it nice when you can't group, find everything, and you actually have to talk to people because the game was so unforgiving. Farming for an hour at level 8 to get 10 silver and deciding on whether you should get skills at the new White Fender weapon is the pinnacle of WoW. The community is small, and it reminds me the most of what WoW felt like back in all the expansions and relaunches. Minimal, bots, GDKPs, boosters. It's honestly great. Man, what an individual.